Hi everyone, and welcome to my review of the Coen Brothers, The Big Lebowski in 1998. Now this is my first Coen Brothers review, and I have actually seen 6 of their films now, all the way through. A Serious Man is the one that I haven't actually seen all of it. I don't know why. It was a few years ago. I just didn't watch it all. I don't, maybe I wasn't quite into that one, and I'll have to give it a rewatch because it was a bit. I just wasn't getting it, I wasn't feeling the point of it a lot of the time. Well, there was some great stuff in there, but I'll give that a rewatch. But of the 6 I've seen, I have loved 4 of them, this included, and I've hated one of them, absolutely hated. And it's an acclaimed film, but I absolutely detest it, and I think it's among the most overrated films of all time for me. I won't mention which. But yes, it's certainly not No Country for Old Men. But yeah, sometimes they have quite a particular tone, and just the way that their comedy plays into their films can sometimes be a hit and miss really, and sometimes just completely go under and not really just fall flat really. But this is a film that it's in the top 250 on IMDb. It is very, very iconic film, very quoted. Everyone quotes the lines, of course. And the dude, played by Jeff Bridges, is one of the most iconic characters, in kind of modern cinema. And this is one of the ones, one of my most recent watches of the Coen Brothers films. I watched it last year for the first time, and I just rewatched it tonight. And yeah, it's a great film. Jeff Bridges is the dude. You got John Goodman. Julianne Moore, massive cast, Seymour Hoffman, and it's just a great film, and the Coen Brothers, there's no denying when they're on form, they're great writers and directors, and of course Joel Coen would direct this film, and of course they would co-write as always, well, for the most part, and yes, it's basically these friends, Steve Buscemi, John Goodman and Jeff Bridges, they're all kind of bowling, and Jeff Bridges' character, the dude, is someone he doesn't work or anything. He kind of, but he's a very eccentric character, and he's just instantly relatable in many ways. But he's a bit of a waster as well. He does drugs and everything. But yeah, no, Jeff Bridges really plays his character to perfection. And it's just he's laid back, but he's always very compelling and entertaining. You've also got Peter Stormare in this film. Even John Turturro, who I do hate a lot of the time. I do not like him as an actor, and I really did not like him in Fear X. Was a recent one I saw him in. This is actually the only film I really like him in, and I love him in this film actually. He's kind of one of the rival bowlers, you could say. But yes, you've got a massive cast, and basically Jeff Bridges. There's things I'm not going to go too much into the plot, but there's many things go on, and Jeff Bridges gets mistaken for another character called Mr. Lebowski, and things happen, and then Mr. Lebowski's wife gets kidnapped, and then Jeff Bridges is sent to kind of deal with the ransom and everything like that. But things go awry, and things happen, and everything goes wrong. And yes, there's people after him and everything. And yeah, but it's a very, very out there film, and really the plot would not do it justice to explain the plot. You just have to watch it and find out what you think of it. But yes, it's very out there. It's got a lot of dream sequences and stuff. And yes, it's very, very bizarre at times, but not in a way that affects, it's always controlled. It's only a good thing, really. It just adds to its charm and how unique it is, really. And it's a simple plot, but really, it's wonderfully told. And it's just straight away, really, I just kind of connected with these characters, the 3 main characters, the bowlers, and just. It's just such a funny film. It's hilarious. The script is so tight, and really just so flawless. Every line of dialogue really just flows seamlessly, and it is. It's so quotable, and it's just because it's so well written. Films like this, like The Godfather and stuff, and Pulp Fiction, You know, all these films, they're quotable because they're just so well written. You know, and you know, this film is just, it's got all these memorable lines, but the characters are written really, really well, and they're grounded characters. But, you know, they're at times very out there. And, you know, especially, you know, Jeff Bridges' character of the dude, very much so. John Goodman is my favourite character, for sure. You know, he's my favourite, you know, in this film, and you know, he's got many anger issues in the film, which just makes for so much entertaining stuff. And you know, there's a scene about half an hour through the film where he kind of jumps out of the car. That was one of the highlights of the film. But yes, no, it's hilarious from start to finish, really, and you know, so many things. You know, it's uncomfortable, funny at times as well. You know, Julianne Moore, and there's many different subplots that go on throughout the film, but it's always so controlled, and there's a central narrative that is so focused, and you know, it builds to a conclusion that, you know, it's definitely very satisfying, as well as very touching actually at the end. You know, it's a comedy for sure, but you know, it has got its moments, you know, of touching moments, and it is very human, although it is very, very, you could say it's fantastical in some of the stuff that, you know, because it's so zany, you know, so out there, especially the kind of dream sequences and stuff. Very, very odd, but only in a good way, really. You know, it just adds to the experience, and yeah, you know, just the cinematography as well in this film is absolutely stunning. You know, particularly in the bowling, you know, the bowling dream sequence, that is just stunning. You know, the way it's framed, as well, just the way it's been, you know, orchestrated. You know, all the different routines and everything, and just the way everything's positioned. You know, and the colours, the contrast of the colours, and you know, the camera movements, the tracking shots. Absolutely wonderful. You know, and the editing in this film is stunning. You know, really, it's just a flawless film. But what for me it is, it's very unique in the way that the Coen brothers are able to really masterfully balance out that comedy with, you know, the actual the kind of thriller aspects and stuff, and still make it, you know, believable, and something that you can get invested in and kind of, you know, shocked by things that are going on. But it's constantly, you know, every minute really has got something funny in it. It is a comedy, and it's, you know, it is really, really, you could say, close to the line of going too far with some of the stuff. You know, if you just saw like a montage of some of the scenes, out of context, you know, you would think, what is that? You know, but really, within the actual context of the film, it works so well, and it's just because the tone is so tight. You know, the very, very fine line. You know, with this film, that it could have easily gone over, but it's just below the line. You know, throughout the entire film, the Coen brothers just kind of balance it out perfectly, and just keep it at bay through grounded characters. You know, especially John Goodman's character. It's just so good. You know, it's just so well written. You know, they're very layered characters, but also just, you know, so entertaining. And as well, you know, just the whole plot. You know, it's just very, very focused, very, you know, involving. And as well, just, you know, the use of music throughout the film. You know, especially the Bob Dylan song. You know, it's just great. And yeah, I just urge anyone to, you know, if you've not seen this film, you have to see it. You know, check it out. And I definitely think it's going to remain one of my favourite Coen brothers films. You know, it's an absolute masterpiece for me. And yeah, stunning film. You know, all the characters, the writing in this film is just stunning. The editing and direction, cinematography, you know, it's just another level at times. You know, but it's a very low key films at times. You know, it starts with his grounded scenes, and it does go. You know, it does go really, really. You know, kind of, as I've said, you know, fantastical at times. And you know, the humour is very, very risky. You could definitely say that. But the Coen brothers do kind of keep it at bay. And, you know, towards the end of the film, it is quite touching, as I've said. But you know, it's just stunning. You know, everything in this film just works. You know, it's just one of them films. Really, it just works on every level. You know, even despite the risk, you know, it never really goes overboard too much for it to be just unbelievable in that sense. You know, and it's just the dude is just one of the most memorable characters in cinema, as is John Goodman's character. You know, it's just, and the three of them together. You know, the sense of camaraderie and stuff, and just them kind of, you know, and the way that John Goodman keeps telling Steve Buscemi to kind of, you know, he keeps saying a certain line throughout the film, and it's just the consistency as well of the script. That's what I've, you know, caught up on again the second time round. It's just so great that the script, you know, just consistent throughout the entire film, and you know, it never lets up and just goes off. It's always there's always a purpose for all the lines early on in the film, basically. And it just kind of comes together perfectly at the end, in the script and just everything. You know, this film, it has great characters, it has a great soundtrack. You know, a plot that is pretty simple, but you know, it's kind of used to bring out these characters and stuff, and different. You know, there's parodies of different things as well, and there's loads of different, you know, themes going on there that, you know, you might not pick up on first viewing, because, you know, it does appear to just be a comedy, you know, maybe at first, you could say. But, you know, there's loads of underlying themes in this film, and, you know, towards the end of the film you realise it's another one of the films, the comedy films, that is actually, you know, very, very human. But yes, it's just so entertaining from start to finish. Stunning film. So overall, you know, I think this is a masterpiece, for sure. It doesn't quite, I don't think, get into my 100% plus films. It's fairly close, but no, maybe you'll see at least another Coen Brothers film when I review that, get into that, you know, into that sort of that area, you know, and I'm not going to reveal, you know, what tier that would be, but you know, it's definitely in there, at least one of them. But this is very, very close, but I'd still say this is 100%. I'd give this film, and it's definitely a masterpiece. I absolutely love it, you know, from start to finish, really. You know, it's got realistic, grounded characters, but you know, it's got some many, you know, scenes that are very, very, you know, out there for sure. You know, and the comedy is very, very risky, and really just a kind of you know, reaffirmation how, you know, how great the Coen Brothers are. You know, the way they're able to kind of keep it at bay and not let it go so overboard that it's unbelievable. You know, and taking away from the actual, you know, the realism of it. It's really it just shows how great they are. You know, as writers and directors. You know, and as well the performances. You know, Jeff Bridges, John Goodman, Steve Buscemi, Julianne Moore, even. You know, all these people. You know, all these actors and stuff. You know, they give such great performances. And they're able to kind of keep the characters real, but you know, very, very out there as well. And it's just hilarious. You know, this film is so funny from start to finish. John Goodman is really, you know, he's a standout, and so is Jeff Bridges. But you know, all the comedy in this film really just works so well. John Turturro, the only film I've ever liked him in, really. I really, really do like him in this film, because as well his performance matches the tone, and you know, Fear X, he was just bland. You know, I hated him in that film. Zohan, it was just, I suppose that was just because it was poorly written and it went too far without actually giving anything funny. You know, and other things I've seen him in is not being that great. Miller's Crossing as well. But this is a film that I really do love him in, actually. You've got as well Peter Stormare, who was in Fargo. He's great in the film. You know, again, another actor who's very, very campy at times, and you know, zany, but you know, it works in this film. And you know, Julianne Moore as well, very out there performance. You know, even David Fules is in this film. You know, just all the performances match the script. You know, work in harmony with the script, and you know, there's not much of a plot, but you know, most of my favourite films, actually, you know, I prefer it when there's not too much emphasis on the plot. You know, and there is obviously points throughout the film where, you know, it is a thriller and stuff, and mystery and stuff. You know, but mainly it is a character-driven film, and you know, it's more about mood and stuff and characters than actual plot, really. Even though it is a thriller, and of course it is a comedy at heart, you know, more than anything. But yeah, it's just a great film. That's a masterpiece for me. I can't really find any flaws with it, and it's just, yeah, I just absolutely love the film. Certainly among my favourites. Definitely on my list. You know, 500 favourite films list that I've been working on for probably like 2 years now, at least. And yeah, it would be probably my top 200 actually. It's just not quite, up to my 100% plus tiers, but it's not far off. And as I've said before, at least one of the Coen Brothers films I've seen is in that plus range. Find out what that is, sometime soon. Maybe I'll be reviewing that film. Maybe there's 2 films. But yes, Big Lebowski is an absolute masterpiece from me, and yeah, just a great comedy, great thriller. It's just full of great, memorable characters and lines, and yeah, just a very, very unique film. And it's very, very out there, but it as I say, it doesn't go far enough to become unbelievable. And it's just a great Coen Brothers film. Certainly one of the best I've seen of them. Love this film. Yeah, I highly recommend it. So thanks for watching my review of The Big Lebowski. Next up, in terms of my videos, will probably be my Blu-ray collection. Actually, I think once I've sorted some things out, I'll be able to do that. And yeah, it's quite a big collection. But yeah, I'll be doing that probably next up. And yes, thanks for watching my review of The Big Lebowski.